All right. Well, it is 5:01, so we'll jump right in. There's a whole bunch to share with you folks this evening. Thank you so much for joining 5 o'clock on a school night. I'm sure you have many other commitments that you could have chosen to do. I really appreciate you joining here because I'm really excited to share with you an event that the CSTA chapter in the Mid-Hudson Valley put on to engage with our community. I want to walk you through that and share with you a bunch of the lessons that we've learned along the way and why we think this is a great way to connect with your community. My co-host, Jocelyn, is going to be popping in and out as she's trying to figure out why presenting from school is not going so well. I really appreciate it. She's got this evening is her parent-teacher night, and so she's going to be joining us to share as well as much as she can before she's got to step out. I'm going to jump right in. This is family and community engagement with Unplugged CS Fairs. Again, thanks for coming tonight. Yes, it is a long night. Again, here, my name is David Chakowski. I am presenting. I teach at FDR Roosevelt High School in Hyde Park, New York, which is in the Mid-Hudson Valley. And Jocelyn, who's jumping back and forth here, is from John Jay High School, which is in Wappingers Falls, also in the Mid-Hudson Valley. Those are our email addresses. I put them here and in the slide deck, which I'll share that link again for folks. Because if you got questions, we want to help you because we think this is really awesome and would love to support anyone else who wants to give it a go. So we are from the Mid-Hudson Valley CSTA Chapter. The CSTA is one of the co-sponsors of New York Summit because the CSTA, the Computer Science Teachers Association, as they like to refer to it, is the largest CS department in the world. We oftentimes are the only teacher in our district. And so by joining the CSTA, you get to join a department with other CS teachers who maybe aren't in the same building, but you've got a community around you. We are the Mid-Hudson Valley chapter of New York. So we are both upstate and mid-state, upstate and downstate, depending on what your perspective is. We represent a very large and diverse geographic region. We are below New York's capital district area, and we are above New York City and its sprawling suburbs. We're kind of smack dab in the middle there, where we've got a little bit of urban, we've got a lot of geographic rural area, and we've got a little bit of suburban as well that we pick up. Our chapter is about 60 members. We average about 10 attendees on our monthly meetups and would be glad to have you join us as well if you're in the area. And if not, I encourage you to get it plugged in with the CSTA chapter in your area. So our motivations for connecting with our community and engaging with them, as you all know, the new state standards, we are in the awareness phase, or I suppose we are now beyond the awareness. We're entering the implementation, what do they call it? The capacity building phase of the standards rollout. And as a chapter, as a community, most of us were high school teachers, and we were saying, well, how do we help reach out to the folks who are in the elementary school teaching and the middle school teachers? We're high school teachers. What can we do to connect with and support our elementary teachers? Most of our districts in our chapter have some middle school and definitely have high school level already, but we want to connect with a broader audience. How can we do that? And we tried offering a bunch of events and sessions for elementary folks, but they weren't connecting. So we thought, what can we do to meet those educators where they're at and not necessarily expect them to come to us? And so the computer science fair at the mall was our idea to reach out to our community, which also happens to have teachers, administrators in it, and meet them where they are. So the computer science fair was our plan, and we wanted to do an unplugged computer science fair at that. So how can we increase awareness of computer science at the elementary level? Well, we originally thought, well, we'd run a workshop for elementary teachers, but we weren't really ready for workshops for them. So we thought, okay, well, we'll run an event for elementary teachers. And then said, well, if we bring the teachers in, maybe it'd be better if we run it for students. Well, if we run it for students, we're going to also need to engage with their parents. in which case we might as well just say we're running an event, a fair for our entire community, because teachers are part of our community. They live in our community, and so do our administrators. And so if we want to bring computer science where they're at, let's get out into our community. So where are they? Where can we attract this diverse audience? Well, somewhere centrally located. A single school was originally a thought. Let's have an event at one of our own districts, but that kind of limits the allegiance and the audience to whom we could bring in. We were trying to think of, well, where's a place that's frequently visited by young families and potentially even attract coincidental participation, maybe folks who didn't even know that they were going to be at our event. And so what we landed on was the mall. And we thought, hey, that would bring a diverse audience. It wouldn't be one specific district. We could engage with a large group. So, what is a parent's perfect Saturday look like? Letting get out to run some errands. They have fun with their kids while they're out there. And in our view, everyone learns a little CS. And so we thought this would be the perfect venue to do an event for our community. We hosted it at the Poughkeepsie Galleria Mall. The mall provided us for free advertising, center court space, tables with the stretch covers on them. So they had all the tables for us. They had all the chairs for us. They had poster stands that we could use. And they even helped with the setup and tear down and trash removal, which was fantastic. So a lot of the things that are required to operate an event, the mall was happy to provide and assist with running that so we could focus on our students and engaging with the people there. Uh, However, one of the big limitations was they didn't have power outlets for us. There are not lots of power strips all over on the floor in a mall for people to trip on. So we had to think, okay, well, these are going to be unplugged activities. The other limitation was they didn't have Wi-Fi available to us, again, limiting our use of computers. But that kind of worked out in our favor as we started to look into CS Unplugged activities, which, if you're not familiar with Unplugged CS, Tim Bell from New Zealand has been researching and promoting unplugged computer science. And he said it this way: we have found that many important computer science concepts can be taught without using a computer. So unplug your computer and get ready to learn what computer science is really about. We can teach computational thinking, right? The mindset of a computer scientist without having to sit down at a computer and run code. And we'll show you some examples of what that looks like here in just a second. So one of those is the world's largest emoji. Some of my high school students put together this activity, which was using colored post-it notes to create an emoji on this large poster board. And unfortunately, this link went down between yesterday and today. But if you aren't familiar with, the images on our computer screen are made up of the tiny little pixels that display these amazing graphical user interfaces that we interact with. The emojis, the text, are all made up of the tiny little dots, the pixels. And if you were to look really closely, you could actually see those tiny dots. And so we thought, well, let's make an emoji out of post-it notes. And so participants who were coming through the mall stopped by. We gave them a couple colored post-it notes and the coordinates, and they started as a group of participants putting together the emoji of this, in this case, the birthday cake emoji. So we gave them the coordinates, we gave them the post-it notes. Now, the other thing they did is, as they came by, they took their phones, and we had one of those science microscopes that they could use, and we had a screen for it, where they could look at the individual pixels on their actual phone. We put the microscope right up to parents' phones, and you could see the tiny little dots that made up that image. So we were connecting the computer science concepts of how the hardware that we use works, and gave them an unplugged activity for them to participate with. Another example of one of the activities, one of the demonstrations that they did, one of the schools from Beacon, one of the local districts, did a divide and conquer algorithm demonstrating binary search. If you've taught the AP CSA course, you're familiar. This is one of those algorithms that students need to be aware of and get tested on the AP exam, but we can teach binary search without being at a computer. So you see here, students have a whole bunch of red solo cups lined up. Underneath one of those red solo cups is a hidden toy, and the elementary student who stops by has to try to find out which cup has the toy hidden underneath it. And the student is given a whole bunch of Skittles, and every time they make a guess, they give up one of those Skittles. And if, eventually, when they find the toy, they get to keep the leftover Skittles for themselves to eat. So they want to use as few guesses as possible. Now, I have a chance for you to give this a try. If you're not familiar with this, here is a Scratch implementation. It looks kind of like this. I'll put the link in the chat here. And you can give this a try yourself. And what you see here on the screen is those red solo cups. In this case, they are going to be all little gray squares. And to be able to include an even longer line, we've got the first row, and then it continues. It wraps around to the second row, which wraps around to the third, fourth, and fifth row. So up here, we've got, I don't know, it's like 32 different possible cups. Your goal is to try to find the number 259 somewhere underneath these cups. All you know is that of all of the numbers that are randomly hidden under these cups, they're all in numerical, in increasing order numerically. So at the very beginning, we have the low number of 16, and at the very end, we have the high number of 978. And so your task is to try to find with as few Skittle payments as possible, in this case, the number 259. And so you can go through, and the idea is, all right, well, I could guess here, and I could guess over here. And so I'm using up all my Skittles to make these random guesses, and it would take quite a while to eventually find that 259 is, I found it. Took a lot of guesses. And so what we talk about at the computer science fair is if we use an algorithm called divide and conquer or binary search, we can find it much quicker. So if we try playing this again, so the binary search tells us to always divide the cups in half and look in the middle, always guess in the middle. So in here's in the middle, 522. Well, the algorithm tells us, okay, that's the low end now because we know our number is above that. Let's guess halfway in between the low number and the highest number. We'll guess somewhere over here, 649. So now, well, actually, that wasn't really in the middle. So we'll guess in the middle now. I'll guess in the middle here. Ooh, we're getting close. Oh, and there is our number. So far fewer guesses by using an intentional algorithm to do that. And so we took that same demonstration, did that at the mall, to let students begin hearing the vocabulary of algorithm and how this applies to even the contact list on our phone. As we go alphabetically searching for names in here, there is an efficient algorithm for finding some information that's in ascending, descending, in some sort of order. You always start in the middle, move to the next middle, and until you found what you're looking for. So to encourage students to try out many of these demonstrations, we provided all the participants with a little stash book that students got to earn stickers at each of the booths. As they completed an activity, they got a sticker, and after they had earned 5 stickers, they got to then bring their stash book, show off all of the different activities they had tried, and go earn themselves a little treat, a little prize from the table. And so you can see all the kids at the fair were carrying around these little gold or orange booklets, which were a record of all the different activities that they did. And once they had been to several of the different booths, they could go earn a prize. And many of the kids, it would be amazing to see how many of the kids thought, well, 5 isn't enough, and I want to keep going and keep going. So some children were very proud to have collected a sticker from every single one of the computer science demonstrations. Now, I said that this was about reaching out to our community. That was our goal, was to engage with our community, to bring the computer science to teachers, to administrators, to students. How did this work out? Well, the children enjoyed learning from the big kids. We had high schoolers from all the different from many 8 different districts in the area sign up to do a couple different tables and do these different demonstrations. And the young kids absolutely had a blast interacting with the high school kids. That was a huge success. We engaged the kids. They had fun. We had children from many different neighborhoods participating. It was not just one specific district. We had them from all the surrounding districts, and some even heard about the event online, came from out of the area and came to check out the Unplugged Computer Science Fair. In fact, you're seeing on the right here is a some folks who came all the way from Albany, about an hour and a half drive away, to come check out the Unplugged Computer Science Fair. So we had from all different neighborhoods come to participate. And the parents participated as well. Yes, the kids, the children were who the demonstrations were targeted to. But if you think only the children were engaged, you clearly weren't looking at the rest of the audience. And these were just some photographs that we snapped during the event, and you can see every parent that went around was like, "Oh, what's going on? What's this mean? Oh, this is computer science too." So this was a great opportunity to engage with the breadth of our community. Even though our target audience we claimed was the students, we knew that our goal here was the entirety of our community. And we succeeded. We got teachers. Now, they didn't walk around with shirts saying, "Hi, I'm an elementary teacher. Hi, I'm a middle school teacher." But we knew from colleagues who came that, hey, we're even getting elementary teachers to come and check out computer science. We were meeting them where they were at because they were there to run errands. They were there to come to a fun event for their children. Oh, and now the elementary teachers are seeing that kids are really enjoying computational thinking. And administrators as well. And this photograph here is of our co-host Jocelyn, who one of her own board of ed representatives was there, came to the event, and even wrote a beautiful letter to their superintendent to say, "This is fantastic. This is what we want to see more of. Look at the kids and how engaged they are in a completely voluntary opportunity to learn computer science." And we also appreciate that those high school students got recognition for their volunteer time. This was held on a Saturday afternoon. They gave up their Saturday to teach elementary kids and to teach parents about computer science. So we appreciate that many of the districts even came and then later went back and recognized the high school students for that. Not to mention the NHS hours that these students got to log, and the Computer Science Honor Society hours that can be logged for this as well. So everyone was delighted with the day: high school students, children, parents, the computer science teachers, teacher guests, administration, and Board of Ed at the mall. The mall was thrilled with the audience that was there, the foot traffic that was there, and the amount of time that they spent there. So for the mall, this was a huge win as well. So I'm going to pause here. It sounds like Jocelyn's got the mic working. I will pause. I've been running through a bunch. Jocelyn, you want to chime in a little bit? We've got some more to share and resources that we want to provide,
Does it
but
work?
I don't want to. I want to include you as well.
Is my mic working?
I can hear you.
You can. Okay, very good. I came in on my phone. Sadly, I had to abandon my home office and come work at school, and I can't even be in my classroom because I don't want parents to just wander in on me. The school is completely wide open. But I'm delighted to be here and have the opportunity to co-present with David because we just had such a great time at the mall, and it was really fun as a chapter sitting around thinking. We had been talking about doing an event like this for the longest time, but we just kept thinking at the library and how would we recruit? It would be a small group of students. So having it at the mall was this eye-opening experience because we knew we could get this really wide group, and it wasn't going to be something that was, um, if you had to sign up for in advance. Kids could just wander in. They could spend a few minutes. They could wander through. And I think the pass book was a lot of fun too because it really encouraged the kids to not just do one table, but to run around to the different tables. So, and then we had the other thing I wanted to add was we had a student um, manager, and we're doing that again this year, so that we had balloons at every table, and we gave out if you got your 5 stickers, you got a fruit roll up. So instead of having an adult man that table, we had our kids man that table as well. And we had the kids pick up the balloons and then hand them out to every different table. And we had the kids just run the event and get the experience of saying they were the project manager for this event. So the kids that did the project management work for the event, they were so proud of themselves. And they also made sure that they made phone calls in the morning to make sure that everyone who was manning a table was going to get there. And that just relieves a whole lot of stress on the day of an event. And this year, we also, because we're using the mini grant, or hoping to use the mini grant, we want to, from CSTA, we want to add like a pizza lunch for the kids, because the kids themselves, the high school students, really got like it became this living thing. Tim wrote here. It was I'm a Gen Xer who loves the mall. Well, you're right. Our students don't hang out at the mall that much, but here they were at the mall, and there were all these other high school kids there, and it was this wide open space, and so there was a lot of interaction between our kids. And they're like, this is really cool. All these computer science kids are here. We're going to go talk with them. So this time we hope the pizza will even make it even that much better, to get the kids all mixing together and being excited about computer science. And then the other thing I wanted to add, that a lot of us at our CSTA meeting noted was that this day we do at the beginning of the year. So we did it in early November, and that's about as early as we can get anything off the ground. But it gave each of us, or each different school, we have now had this small set of events that worked really well with little children. And so in multiple districts, we had STEM events going at our elementary schools. And the administrators who knew we were at this event, they said, hey, can you do a STEM event at our elementary school? Take the same kids and we'll send you a bus, bring over to the elementary school, and you can run that same event. So we ran it at 2 elementary schools. We also did Hour of Code at the middle school. It wasn't one of these exact events, but my kids had a lot of school because of this event. And then we have a winter carnival in our building also, and we ran a similar event there as well. So this opportunity for the kids to pick the events themselves, then man the tables, and then and manage the whole event ended up being a really good leadership opportunity for the kids, as well as an opportunity for us to evangelize computer science across the district. So I think the whole thing came together even better than we expected as an opportunity to kick things off. Oh, you're barely audible. I'm barely audible.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jocelyn. And please do jump in if you've got more. I'll run into the next section here. So yeah, this may seem like a lot of work, and yeah, there's a lot going on. Jocelyn mentioned having students actually step up as leaders and handling and taking care of many of the logistics here, obviously with the supervision of the teachers as well. But yeah, it is a lot of work, but let's see what we can do to make this a little bit easier for you. We were willing as a chapter to do as much of the work as possible as chapter leaders so that we could increase the number of participants. So there were some school districts that basically they just recruited students and came and the activity was ready for them. we're hoping that now that they've seen that and their students have engaged, they can turn over this year and come up with their own activities to be doing. So two different areas to talk about here, and that is promotion and event planning, the logistics involved with that, and then also the CS content creation. So as far as promotional materials go, um, Jocelyn and her students did an amazing job with creating kind of the promotional material necessary for this. A seasonally themed cartoon character to kind of help set the stage that this is a kids event. The website was created, so we had a way to point people to say, here's where to find information. This is actually happening. This is an event. Here's where to find it. A letter was prepared, almost like a press kit, to be sent to elementary teachers to promote to their students to come to the mall on Saturdays. Jocelyn had a fantastic idea of turning it into a coloring page that they could then bring to earn a prize. And I'm sure you've all seen many of the ice cream places that you do this coloring sheet and you'll get a free scoop of ice cream. Well, same idea. Here's a coloring page, turn this in. Oh, and by the way, here's all the detail about the event right on the page that you're filling in. And you can see on the right-hand side, here's a sample of some of the pictures that came to us from kids who brought the page home, colored it, and then got their parents to bring them to the mall to the event. So that was our coloring page, which was also a promotional item for reaching out to the elementary students. There was an in-mall ad. As you can see, the picture at the top here was some of the advertising that the mall did for the event. So it wasn't just us. By bringing them on as a partner, they were doing some of the advertisement and promotion for us. Obviously, online is a big thing for families. Many folks find events and happenings online. Is Eventbrite the way to do that? Probably not for these elementary families, but Facebook events was a big deal, and getting that into the right circles to spread that. So creating a quick little digital poster to be shared and a URL to find more information. And then tying this all together, having similar same day materials gave us a finished, polished look that really engage those who just coincidentally were walking by. They saw, wait, this is all something going on. Let me check this out. So a lot of promotional materials helped bring folks to the event. CS content creation took a while as well. We scoured the internet to come up with unplugged CS lessons that had some really great demonstrations that were short and quick with visual hands-on things. If you haven't yet, do a Google search for Unplugged Computer Science or Unplugged CS, and you'll find that there are tons of resources, lots of lessons. Some of these are great for classroom settings. Some of these are great as long or bigger activities. We were looking for the what can we do and demonstrate in the 5 minutes to introduce a concept. We, as a chapter, put together a list of suggestions for students and teachers to kind of look through and say, hey, this is something that we could facilitate. And so we provided a list of suggestions, possibilities, and then the students and the teachers picked the ones they wanted to do and signed up for their tables. So to prevent the same thing happening over and over again, we kept a running live document for teachers who were bringing students to the event to say, okay, I've got enough for 2 activities worth of tables, and here are the activities we're doing. So we didn't get a whole bunch of tables all doing the world's largest emoji. Instead, it was one table doing that, another table. So we've got an entire list of all the activities that happened. Activity list. So here were the activities we actually did. Magical conditionals. This was a quick little card magic trick, and it used a list. It used if statements for the trick to actually work. Real simple card trick. Some of my students happen to be amateur magicians, and so they had a blast doing the magic trick for students and then teaching them the secret in how conditional statements, if statements, are how the magic trick works. The river crossing puzzle, if you're not familiar with that, we had students actually implement the river crossing puzzle and talk about the algorithm for solving that puzzle. As you saw, the world's largest emoji. Maze solving, talking about how you use sensors, how a robot can use sensors to navigate the environment. So we put out a massive tarp on the floor that had a human-sized maze for people to solve, and then brought them over to the table and had them use the little what are the line following robots that could actually navigate through a maze as well. CS story time. I brought a whole bunch of children's books from my classroom that were computer science themes, and we provided those as an opportunity for kids to just check out books about computer science that were at the elementary level. This year, we're hoping to actually have the high schoolers do story time with the participants. Numbers to pictures, which is doing image representation, taking numbers and how that actually can represent the colors on a screen, which turn into the pictures. Binary bracelets, taking a child's name and using the colors of the beads on a bracelet to actually encode their name into binary. B-bots, if you're not familiar with those, are a great hands-on coding platform that requires no computer to use. Cyber secrets was teaching them the idea of cryptography, encoding and decoding messages. Finding the lost zebra, as I showed you earlier, the divide and conquer or binary search. Hexapon is a hands-on machine learning demonstration that uses a little bit of chess and just a couple different matchboxes with colored beads in it. Tower of Hanoi is a new activity we'll be doing this year to teach loops and how repetitions become a part of a solution. Timothy in the chat said, I assume that this was all from Unplugged, on csunplugged.org. Many of them were, but not all. And if you hang tight, we've got a list of even more ideas. Now, again, we've combed through a lot of that website and many other resources. We've been trying to keep a coalition of great ideas. So we've got a list of more things that we think would work well within this kind of a setting. And there are lists, huge lists. So CSK8 keeps a list of spreadsheets. A spreadsheet of unplugged activities. This is a huge spreadsheet. I didn't even make through all of it. NC Wit has computer science in a box with unplugged activities. CSUnplugged.org has at-home activities and teacher lesson plans. AI Unplugged as well. A bunch of these as ideas, but don't go far because we've got our curated list, and we'll show you that in just a second, that we've used and hope to get more ideas. Things to consider if you want to implement an activity kind of like this. Yes, Joe, absolutely. And I'll share that with you in just a second. Hang tight. If you're thinking about doing an event like this, I used some class periods to have my students prepare for this as part of their teaching computer science. We want them to be good communicators of the computer science concepts they're learning, not just that they've internalized it for themselves, but they can share and communicate what they're doing. I used field trip money to be able to transport my students and bring bag lunch for my students. This year, as Jocelyn mentioned, we're hoping to have pizza for all the volunteers, or at the very least, bring bag lunches for them. Of course, we're at the mall. So what we're hoping to do is strike a deal with the pizza shop in the mall to actually allow our students to go through and visit the food court as well. More foot traffic for the mall. Decorations is a big thing, but can get expensive. Jocelyn was very wise in saying, well, we got to get balloons. Let's take up the vertical space. We're in this big, huge area. How can we take up more space visually? So balloons with helium at all of the tables, announcing what the different activities were, drawing people in. But then we also used our school banners. You've probably seen tables with tablecloths in your school. Why not bring them to the event to help bring color and to show the representation of all the different schools that are involved in this? All right, have table captains, as Jocelyn was talking about. You can see our event manager was photographed here. Invite them to include this on their resume. This is amazing leadership opportunities for them, having a student event manager. This was the event manager recruited table captains for each of these, right? Divvying up the leadership responsibility here. allowing them to practice how do you lead and divvy up the work. They cleaned up and brought supplies. They were responsible for each table. They scheduled the shift breaks because we were active from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So for 4 hours, this was going on. So the high schoolers needed to decompress and just get away from the table. So we don't want the whole table disappearing for an hour. So let's schedule these breaks. Students actually designed the logo and much of the promotional material we used, which is fantastic. Way to bring art students in and say, hey, here's a cool project that you can work on. The media, this year, I'm hoping to bring a student to be the event photographer to actually get a lot of the media. Most of what you see here was me running around like, we got to document this, we got to photograph this. But it would be great to have a student come as the event photographer. I'd love to get each of the tables video and so that the demonstrations can live on as a resource for next year and for other folks who want to run this event. We've got lots more motivational pictures. I'll come back to these, but I want to jump to what folks have been asking about, which was, if this seems like too much, we've done our best to take the burden off of you. We have taken a lot of the resources that we were just talking about and put them onto a website called unpluggedcsevents.org. And this has all of our resources that we used. Let me put that in the chat. Unpluggedcs.events. And that web page will bring you to this. This is, most of the media here will look familiar to you because it was included in our presentation here. We kind of explain the justification as we've just presented it, what this is. Here is the slide deck that you can pull resources from. Under logistics, we've got, here's what we've done to plan out this event. Kind of what was our project planning timeline? What did that look like? How far in advance to begin? What things do you need to be considering? Budgeting, this can be anywhere from $0 officially budgeted for, all the way up to $500,000 if you wanted to. A lot of teachers pitched in and covered the expenses for some of the materials, but you know, if only a table or two had to be covered, that's a whole lot better than nothing. Event details suggestions. So here's where we talk about, you know, the location to consider, what activities might you want to consider, decorations to consider, how to get students to engage in more than just one of the activities. You know, we talked about having the book. And then up at the top under activities, here are the actual activities that we did. There's a photograph of each of the activities, and these are links that explain more of the details of how you could run this activity yourself. So this was that magical conditionals that I was mentioning. Here is the actual card trick, how to run it. Here's a quick YouTube video. What is the computer science connection? What are the supplies that you need? Here are the instructions for implementing the card trick. And here are the actual conditionals. So we printed this out, and this was the reveal. This is what we provided students with. We made it look like block coding so they could talk about the if statements for being a magician and running this trick yourself. And so for each of these activities, we're trying to build up our catalog of activities that you can do. Here's the large human-sized maze laid out on a big tarp just with duct tape, so that people could try to solve the maze, and it's not as simple as it looks. You can read about that here. World's largest emoji. Here are the children's books about computer science. You can look at the list of those. Here's Hexapon, the machine learning chess game, the divide and conquer, sorting networks, numbers to pictures, Bebots, the water piano, cyber secrets, and then more possibilities. And and there's our prize table, of course. So the biggest takeaway I hope you at least take a look at is the website with all these resources. We wanted to try to make this available to other folks because it was so awesome for us. We absolutely had a blast doing it and would love to support other folks doing this. But you don't have to put on the entire event. As Jocelyn was hinting at, when your students do an event like this, they're now trained to do this kind of education. So where else could they take this? Or maybe you're not going to run the full event. Maybe you want to pull some of these ideas to do at your district science fair, your STEM fair. Maybe you want to do this in your own classroom. That was our goal, to reach out to elementary teachers. In fact, there's an idea I ought to remember for next year, for this year, is to have basically the lesson plan that we can give to any elementary teachers who stop by these tables. I got to write that down before I forget. I've done these activities. I don't know if you can see in the top here, that's me running the divide and conquer algorithm at a library event. They wanted to do a STEM activity, and so I did the same activity there. It was great because I could just pull this off the website and run it. CS Ed Week is a great idea, which is exactly, Joe, you just mentioned that in the chat. Absolutely, CS Ed Week is a great opportunity to do these. And, we're looking for your ideas. We want this to be a resource to get computer science out to our community. Let's engage with the families and the children. Let's meet them where they're at rather than expecting them to just come to us. Yes, Tim, absolutely. After school programs, definitely. I will put that on the list. Yes, this is another great place to do this. All right. So a couple other photos you've seen, because we had such a blast. I was so happy to be able to run around and take photos of this. But you can see in every single one of these photos, it's children and parents all deeply engaged in what's going on in these activities. I love this photo here on the right, where you can just see the entire, well, you can't even see the entire event here. Every single one of the tables crowded around by children, deeply engaged, and their parents as well. And that to me just said huge success. This is how we can engage the elementary teachers, the administrators, with computer science. Here was that human-sized maze and kids trying to figure out how to solve it. Here on the right was that prize table, and that was our event manager checking the booklets to make sure that the kids had been around to enough tables and earned their prize. Again, more students just into it, and here we've even got the parents again. So it was a blast for us. I hope you can take the website with questions. Please email us. I'll put that back up as well. Let me see if I can get back to that. Oh boy. But we would love to be a resource to help you utilize this because we think it's a great opportunity. We are in a time crunch here. How are we going to bring computer science to the folks that don't think that computer science is for them? We have to go to where they're at and show them, let them see how engaging this can be. Because if we can have high schoolers teaching elementary kids how to think computationally, this becomes something that elementary teachers can say, oh yeah, I can do that. I've got a spot where we can fill in and do this with our students. And that, you want to talk about a board of ed person walking around and seeing all the kids thoroughly engaged with computer science. What a compelling testimony they bring back to their board of ed and say, I just saw elementary students doing this. We can do computer science with our children. And to have the high schoolers being the ones who are doing the teaching, it was just, for me, it was just absolutely awesome. And so we are so excited. We're already in the planning stage for this year's. It'll be November 4th. We are keeping track of, I'd be glad to record anyone else who is, I said November 4th, that was last year. November 5th, which is a Saturday. Nope, that was November 5th was last year. So we will be doing November 4th, got to put that on there, we will be having more events. We'd love to have you represented on here as having a successful event, but at the very least, please use the resources. Please use us. We're here to support you bringing computer science to engage with families. I will stop at this point and answer any questions in the chat. It looks like Jocelyn's been doing an awesome job. Thank you, Jocelyn, for dealing with the tech problems. I apologize for that. That's terrible. You do a much better job at presenting this than I can. And Jocelyn was really the brains behind this. She kept it going and recruited so many of the students. This was an absolutely blast. And we hope more folks can do this. please, if you've got questions, reach out. We want to support you all being able to use these resources. So I went too quick. I apologize. I guess you get a longer break. Go check out the website. Go flip through your calendar and find that date. I will say our chapter was really nervous about doing this event. It seemed like a lot, but once you started divvying it up and saying, "Hey, listen, I'll just be responsible for 3 tables." Oh well, if you can do three, I could probably do two as well. And it just it felt very much like a cliff. We were on this, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can do this. All right, we're jumping in, we're doing this. And as soon as a couple people said, I'll commit to doing 3 tables, 2 tables, you'll do 3 tables, that's awesome. Reached out to a couple other schools and said, hey, can you? And by the end, the first year we had 8 schools participating. This year, every one of those schools wants to come back. And those same students, I'm a little nervous because I'm going to have too many students wanting to come back. I'm afraid we're going to bring like 6 tables worth of activities, which would be great, but I want to see even more districts represented as well. We're even looking at doing this at other locations to spread around the region so that it isn't just at in one mall, but next year we'll be at a different mall within the Mid-Hudson Valley. So we're really and this year, we're hoping to bring some potential funders to come who want to pay for the pizza next year and say, hey, I believe in this. I think this is awesome because they've been to the event. So there are a couple folks, VIPs, that are on our list to make sure they come this year so that they can see what we want them to give a couple $100 to provide in their area. So, we're reaching out to make this a much bigger thing and get more support. Cool, Karen. Thank you so much for sticking around as well. Karen also brought students, and yes, they really enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah, it was cool. And to have our chapter doing this, like one person, I don't think I could have done this on my own. I don't think Jocelyn, would you have even attempted to do this on your own? No. But the fact that we had a small core group, I would say there were about 5 or 6 of us that were like, we're gonna make this happen. And it really didn't end up being a big heavy lift for that reason, because it really does divvy out nicely, which was fantastic. Yeah, and if you have a computer science honor society, this is a great volunteer opportunity for them. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for using your time. Jocelyn's got to run.